So Christian Horner has just been sacked by Red Bull then, and this is absolutely huge news. The biggest news since Lewis Hamilton moved to Ferrari, because Red Bull have been F1 for 20 years and Christian Horner has been their boss for all 20 of those years. They're a championship winning team. They won 6 constructors, 8 drivers championships, and Christian Horner wasn't really given a direct reason why he was sacked. Before we get into it, just apologies, my voice is a little bit rough. I'm actually quite unwell at the moment, but this news is just too big that we have to jump on and talk about this. So all of this then basically starts with the allegations of 18 months ago and ends with Verstappen. But let's be honest, Christian Horner has always been a divisive character. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. But ultimately, if you're winning championships and if you're doing a good job as your CEO, do they care if you're the most liked person in the paddock? Probably not, but it does seem the divisiveness has ended up coming to a head. So first of all, let's talk about the performance then. There's been some speculation that it's because the performance has been declining this year and that's why they got rid of him, but I don't think that's the case. Red Bull haven't won all 20 of the championships they've competed in. Like I said, they've won 8 drivers and 6 constructors championships. They finished 4th place in 2015, for example. He wasn't sacked then, so I don't think the current performance level is why he's sacked. I mean, let's not forget they've won races this season. They got pole position in the very last race. There is some issues with the second driver, sure, we'll get onto that in a moment. But honestly, I think the only thing it could be about performance is 2026. If for some reason they've got wind that 2026 is going to be really bad for them, and obviously there is maybe a trend towards declining performance at the moment, although it's not the first time they will finish 4th in the constructors. But yeah, if next year is looking really bad, if they've got some inside info from Mercedes, you can maybe see their decision to use Red Bull powertrains to make their own powertrains might be a wrong one, which was Christian's decision, along with the board. So maybe about next year, but to me, it's not about the current form. So what is it about then? Well, for me, most of this just stemmed from all the allegations of 18 months ago. I won't repeat them here, but I'm sure you guys have already heard them, and they're just a short Google away. In private, a lot of the team really weren't happy about all of this stuff, how it was handled, and just all of it. They were not happy. It led to a number of people leaving, which we'll get onto in just a second. But just think about it for a second. If the boss, the face of your business, has been accused of things he was accused of, even if he was cleared by supposedly third-party lawyers, is that somewhere you want to work? And they've just toughed it out and gone, we don't care. Is that really somewhere you want to work? I think a lot of people have decided no, which is why so many key staff have left. I mean, you got Adrian Newey, who of course left to Aston Martin. You got Jonathan Wheatley, who's left to Sauber. He was the sporting director. He's now the team principal at Sauber. You got Will Courtney, who left to McLaren. He was the head of strategy. He's now the sporting director. So those are just some, real headline names that have left Red Bull, but there'll be many, many more that have moved over to greener pastures because they don't like how divisive Horner is. They don't like all the allegations and stuff. They've been bleeding staff. They really have been bleeding staff. And speaking of staff, we need to talk about their second driver, because that has been an absolute shambles as well. Obviously, they had Perez for a few years, but let's not forget, just 6 months before they paid to cancel Perez's contract, they extended it. They extended it, the decision was made, this is going to help the situation, and then all they ended up doing was having to pay a bigger payout when they actually decided to bid him off. That was a massive, massive misstep. Won't have been just Horner's decision, of course, but you can see there's a number of missteps happening here that really ultimately, sometimes it all has to, the buck has to stop with somebody, and that is Christian Horner. So obviously now this year, they've had a couple of drivers as well, but let's be honest, if Verstappen leaves, and we'll get onto Verstappen in just a second, where is that team? They haven't finished worse than 4th ever since they went above 4th in all those years. But without Verstappen, they genuinely might be like 8th, 9th, 10th. Can you imagine a team like Red Bull, still one of the biggest teams in F1, finishing last place in the Constructors' Championship with how their second driver's been going? And look, Tsunoda is no donkey. Tsunoda is no rookie that he plucked out or a pay driver. Tsunoda's a half-decent driver. And he just keeps finishing last. There's something wrong with that car, and it's not changing. Verstappen's able to drive it, but you can't pull all your eggs in one basket like that. So what does that mean for Verstappen then? To me, this is really the catalyst for all this. I think all those previous issues were all building up, and it was all just, making a bad case for Christian Horner and the board, and they were keeping him on because they were still winning championships and stuff. They won the championship last season, don't forget, with the drivers. They were winning races this season. Yeah, these things are not ideal, but we're still doing well, so, not too bad. But Verstappen, I think there's 2 options for Verstappen. First of all, this means he's already left. He's already got the get-out clause of his contract. He's signed with Mercedes. He's gone. And Red Bull have gone, without Verstappen, we are nowhere and this cannot continue. So let's get fresh face in and see what we can do. Or this means Verstappen staying. Let's not forget, there's a lot of big egos at the top of F1. Obviously, Verstappen himself, Joss, Helmut Marko, and Christian Horner, to name just a few. You know, they came to loggerheads last year. Supposedly, Horner was trying to get Helmut Marko out, and Verstappen basically said, well, look, if he leaves, I leave, because I've got a clause in my contract. So that didn't happen. Supposedly, Christian set up a meeting to replace Helmut Marko with Sebastian Vettel. I don't think he has that much power, as shown by previously. But this could be a way to appease Verstappen, particularly Joss, I would suggest. They could say, look, we want you to stay. And he's gone, well, I just don't get along with Horner anymore. I look at this car that's been built. It's just, you know, we built our own engines next season. They look like they're going to be rubbish. I'm just not happy with the team. They've gone, well, what if we get rid of Horner? Which is, you know, that'll be the final nail in the coffin. So to me, this goes one of two ways. And look, I'm recording this just an hour after the news was announced. So maybe you already know by now what Verstappen's movements are. But to me, it either means he's already gone, and they've gone, we need to change because we can't finish 9th or 10th in the constructors, or it means he's staying. It's one of two. I don't know which one it is. I guess the next question is, where's he going to go next? I think retirement is probably the most likely, but he's not that old. Do other teams want him? I mean, you know, he's been sacked for a multitude of reasons. Do you want that guy in your team? Maybe not. So for me, maybe Alpine, because, you know, they've already got a bit of moral bankruptcy in that team. So maybe Alpine, possibly. They do need to sort something out. Or one of the new teams, Cadillac or Audi. To me, they're the only teams that would take them. I think if you're Mercedes or Ferrari, I don't see why you take on a sacked team principal, even if he's got a good track record, because he was sacked for a multitude of reasons and those reasons still exist. To me, this just makes sense. It's just been building up. It's not that much of a surprise. I thought he'd be going a year ago, but he's gone. To me, personally, my personal opinion, I'm not too upset with it. That's been the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to drop a sub if you haven't already, especially because I've done this when I'm ill. I've got a bad headache. I'm going to have to edit it now as well. So I would appreciate a sub, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.